Hello. Uh, Today I'm going to talk about printers. For the past week or so, my brother printer has been saying did not detect the ink cartridge, so I had to reinstall it. I've been looking it up online, and over here, as you can see, it's black. I've been using the black Sharpie to cover it up, and I still had that problem. I was Googling it in the whole 9 yards. Do this, do that, and everything else. So last week I went online and purchased a couple of the ink cartridges, and when I finally got one, I put the first one in. It didn't detect it, and I bought the genuine Brother ink cartridge. Two of them, black, and I put the first one in. It didn't detect it. I put the second one, did not detect it. It wanted me to reinstall it. And it was getting late, so I said the heck with it. I unplugged it, left it off all night, and in the morning, a couple, 2 or 3 hours after I woke up, I plugged it back in. Oh, I forgot to mention, before unplugging it, I took out all the ink cartridges. Then I unplugged it and left it off until the following morning, about 2 or 3 hours after I woke up, had breakfast. I plugged it back in, reinstalled all of the ink cartridges, and apparently that did the trick. A lot of times, these electronic devices, they're like computers. You can leave it on 24/7, but every so often you have to turn it off. Whether it's for 2 minutes, 2 hours, or half the night. It all depends on what kind of product you have. In my particular instance, this was the Brother MFC J6930DW, as you can see over here. When they started using the chips, it was the microchips over here. It was their way of trying to get you to use their ink cartridges only. That way, you don't go from a third party and get ink cartridges through a third party. You will buy the genuine product from their company, whether it's a Brother, a Lexmark, Canon. They all reached the point where they're starting to use the chips. So you couldn't use a third-party cartridge for that. And what I usually did was, right over here, where the ink comes out of, for the printer, I bought the 3 colors, M for magnet, Y for yellow, and C for Kenya. Then I bought the 4th one, like for black, large 64-ounce inks. And what I do sometimes is I fill it up here to extend the life of the cartridge. All you need is a needle. You don't have to have the metal tip at the end, because you take the metal tip off and insert it the other way where the metal tip goes in over here. You take some of the air out first, as much as you can, by holding it like this, and then when you go inside insert the ink in there, this here doesn't expand like this. You want it close together as much as possible by creating a vacuum in there. So that way, when you go fill up the cartridge with the ink, you don't have partial ink and partial air. You want to try to fit as much ink as in there as possible by creating a vacuum in there. That way you can fit a little bit more in there. Once it's in there, you start shaking it and then replace it in there. And 9 times out of 10, by turning off the printer, whether it's a Brother, Canon, Lexmark, whatever, by turning it off, you can leave it off anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 or 3 hours, depending on what kind of printer it is. I could probably had it off about like anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, but I decided to leave it off all night, and that apparently did the trick, because when I tried to do it for like 2 or 3 minutes, I didn't give it time. That didn't do the trick. Apparently it needed more time to reset. So and it was getting late at night, so like 9:30, I'd unplugged it because I got fed up. I figured I'll plug it back in the morning. If that did the trick, great. And if it didn't, I'll go buy a different model printer. But it was off the entire time I was sleeping, and plugging it back in, that reset the entire settings to where it was supposed to be. It was like your desktop. You can leave it on 24/7, but then once a week you have to shut it off for a couple of minutes and then turning it back on. It refreshes the computer. Well, the printer is the same way. Sometimes you can leave it off for 2 or 3 minutes and refresh itself and turn it back on, where it will detect the ink cartridges. And sometimes you have to leave it off for a couple of hours. Each model is going to be different. I can't say 2 minutes for this one or 2 hours for that one. You'll have to determine that one for yourself. But usually you have to turn it off long enough for it to reset and refresh itself. And hopefully that would work. And have a nice day.